Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to episode number 98 for, what's today's date? January the 19th, 2021. And you can see by the looks of things, I'm getting to that point again where I'm going to need a haircut. It's been 4 weeks, not a lot of time, but we're in shutdown right now, lockdown, so I can't go to the hairdresser, so I think I'm going back to that long-haired look. But anyways, such is life, eh? Anyways, let's get on with what I want to talk about today. I've got a lot of things I want to talk about today. I've got a comparison part of this with pins and ones I like and ones I don't like. I want to talk about what's behind me. I want to criticize another quilt that I made in my beginning days of quilting. And I've got some special things that I'm thinking about that I would like your input on. So let's jump right into the one behind me. It's a work in progress. I recently found out that people call that a whip, I guess. I don't know if that's a common term with quilters or not. I actually heard that term on some knitting podcasts or knitting YouTube channels that I watch every now and then, although I'm not a knitter. And I kept hearing them talking about whip, whip, whip. Now, I knew it wasn't an S&M kind of bondage channel, so I looked it up. Yeah, should have figured it out. Well, I'm an idiot. Works in progress. So this is a whip. It's a work in process. Now, this is my Australian quilt. I've talked about it and shown in parts of it to you before, but this is not finished yet, but this is as far as I've gotten to date. And I'm really happy with the way it's turning out. I am making this up out of my head as I go. Okay? I mean, I started with the applique kangaroo that I did 2 years ago. These are all fabrics with the exception of the white that come from my fabrics that I bought when I was last in Australia, and that was 2 years ago. I miss it. I love Australia. And anyways, I'm using all the fabrics that I bought. And I bought a lot of fabric when I was there. I didn't buy a lot of yardage though. I pretty much stuck to fat quarters for this and some strip jelly rolls as well, mainly because I had to get it back here to my country and I did not take an extra suitcase with me. Although, you know, if I ever do this again, I think I will. Actually, what I think I'll do is I'll go there, I'll buy a cheap suitcase, I'll fill it with fabric, and I'll pay whatever I have to pay to get it on the plane to come home. Of course, who knows when that's going to be, if it's ever going to happen again. Yeah, anyways, we can dream, can't we? So back to the quilt. So I bordered the central applique with animals that are embroidered on top of a stylized version of the, well, it's not a stylized version of the Aussie flag, but the colors come from the Aussie flag, and the 7-pointed star comes from the Aussie flag as well. And then I'm working my way out from there. So you can see that I bordered it with some, actually those were from a jelly roll of Australian fabrics. And the next border over, it's very difficult on the video to see this, but those are flying geese. With the points going out beyond the quilt. And then I thought, well, okay, these fabrics are very, very busy, so I think before I add my next set of Aussie fabrics to it, I need to have a place for the eye to rest. So that's why I put a relatively thin white border around that. So I'm really pleased with it. It's coming along very nicely. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I took more of those Aussie fabrics, and what I'm making right now are 4 patches. Basically they're half square triangles, and I'm creating sort of a point, and I know it's very difficult to see the point. This one you can see it better than probably in this one because of the nature of the fabrics. I'm trying to get them, pick my fabrics for these that will show the points up a little bit better. You can really see it in this one. And this one, again, you got to look at it closely. But that's okay because I'm really interested in focusing on the colors and the patterns in the fabric that I bought, because basically, most of these fabrics have a very aboriginal sort of design to them, and I picked those on purpose because I thought those were more in keeping with Aussie style. As opposed to just going in, I could have just bought, you know, the same fabrics I can get here. Well, what's the point? Then there isn't one. So my idea is those are going to go all the way around again. So it's sort of like another border. And then we'll see from there how much further we're going to go with this. So I'm happy with the way it's turning out right now. I don't know what I'll do for backing on this. I'll probably have enough Aussie fabric left over that I can piece a backing together, and I probably will do that because I don't want to just use the fabric I can get every day for backing on this. I want the whole thing Aussie in feel, so I'll probably piece a backing. So that's how far I've come with it so far. I have to admit, lately I have not been really inspired to quilt. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's January, maybe because it's January 2021, maybe it's because of COVID, a combination of things or whatever. I am kind of forcing myself to work on things. It's not because I don't want to work on them. It's just, I don't know. It's a weird feeling. I don't know. Let me know if you're going through this similar thing and what you're doing about it. Ironically, I made a part of one of these videos back a month or so ago where I talked about losing your mojo and how I get it back. Maybe I should take my own advice and start doing that. But anyways, so these, I'm not making them as fast as I should be because I find making these boring, and I need about, by my estimation, I need 36 of these blocks. So anyways, we're moving on. Okay, so I'm also, well, actually, just before I move on to what I want to talk about next in terms of quilts, we did have a quilt sew day, a guild, not a quilt, a guild sew day, virtual. We've been having about 2 of these a month, and I'm really, really enjoying them. I just like sewing with other people. Even if it's done virtually, I still like that. I find that that inspires me. I get a lot done when I'm sewing with other people. So I have an idea to carry that on. I'm going to talk about my idea a little bit further on in today's episode. So please stay tuned for that. Okay, so speaking of the Guild has set up a mystery quilt challenge for this year, and I've bought into that. I've only ever done one mystery quilt before, and I showed you last week that I don't like a mystery, so I went looking for a picture of what the finished quilt might look like, and I did find it, and I wasn't, to be honest, I was not that impressed. But I think what really turned me off, if I picked the right one, I may not have, actually that would be fine if I hadn't, were the colors that were used in the picture I found. I just did not like those colors. So of course I showed you last week the colors that I am using, and I got my fabrics from Peachtree Quilt, and I'm going to show you those because I bought some really beautiful fabrics from them. But one of those fabrics was the Tim Holtz Abandon, one of the ones in the series that I'm using in my mystery quilt as well, but I didn't have enough of it, but I do now. So that's all looked after. So I thought I would show you, shh, don't tell anybody else in my guild I've shown this to you, because the person who's organizing this is being very secretive about all of this, and she has told us we're not supposed to share our blocks with anybody else until we're told we can. So I'm kind of violating this, but I have no idea how many people who are in my guild actually watch this YouTube video. So if you're one of them, do not squeal on me. So we had our first instructions were to cut some blocks, and they told us what to cut. So, and put them in baggies and label them. So this is block C, and it's a big block. And that's what they're going to be looking like. I'm hoping that this is going to work out okay, because This big one in the center is the one that had the most fabric that I was trying to figure out what I was going to use. And it needed like something like 3.2 meters. I'm still not sure why it needs that much because I'm making a throw, but I have a feeling it is backing fabric as well. But in the instructions we've received so far, that it did not say that that's what it was for. It's still a mystery. But that's okay because I'm now committed and that's what I'm going to use. I was going to use a white, and then a couple of you suggested that maybe the white was too much, like too light with some of the other picks, and that's why I went with this one. And you know, I am known for my somewhat unconservative picks in colors, and they usually work. So I'm just going to trust my intuition and go with it. Coffee. And this is block A. They're just half square triangles made from those same two fabrics. And then block B is just simply a square of the featured fabric. I love that fabric. So that's where we're at right now. I guess next month we'll get the next instruction. There's quite a few of us participating in this. Our organizer has set up a Facebook group, a private one, for us to share our fabrics, and there's some beautiful combinations that people have picked, and some of them are showing them on the Sew Day as well. And I think there's 45 of us now that are doing the mystery quilt, which is quite good. So there should be a real variety. It'll be great to see them all when they're finished and everybody, you know, we show them off, kind of a deal. That'll be exciting. Okay, so I am enjoying this process. And the other thing I'm enjoying about it is, you know, one thing to do a month, that's pretty good. It doesn't interfere with my other projects, and hopefully I can stay on top of it, and you know, should be stressless. I know that people get stressed out when they're doing things like a row by row or a mystery quilt or something like that, where they get a new one every month, a piece for their quilt. And I've always heard say, oh, I'm falling behind, and some people drop out at that point or just get frustrated and it becomes a UFO. And I can see how that can happen, but I'm not going to let that happen, he says right now. Okay, so what else do I have that I'm going to be working on? Well, yeah, you know, just at the tail end of 2020, I did a video showing what my projects were, and they're sitting on my vision board over there, and unfortunately they're kind of growing. Yeah, and I still got the UFOs. Yeah, haven't got really far on those yet. So what do? I find another project. Well, this isn't a quilt, it's an embroidery project. It was on sale, had to have it. It's a freestanding lighthouse. Okay, get the glare off. And you know, I love these kind of things to do them. You saw I did a lot of them for Christmas decorations over the last couple of years as well. And I saw this, and I have an affinity to lighthouses, or to things that deal with the sea, which is kind of funny because I'm not petrified of water, but I'm not a fan of water. Okay, put it that way. But for some reason, I'm drawn to anything that's got a sea-like motif to it. And lighthouses are one of the things I'm really interested in. So I got this. It was on sale for about, I think it was $10 off or something. No, I think it was about half price. I paid $19.99 American for it, and I think it was regularly $49.99. So I had to have it. So when I get a little bit, you know, tired of what I'm quilting, I can take a break and do something like this. And then when I got that, I remembered that in my stash of embroidery files that I have bought, I had something else that I've never done, and that's this little truck. And it's cute, and it's a freestanding embroidery project as well. So that's, these two projects are together. And yeah, someday. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, it's like a rabbit's hole when you go down the embroidery pathway, because you get started on one of these and you keep wanting to do more and more, and before you know it, you've spent half a year making embroidery projects and haven't done anything on your quilts. So it's a double-edged sword. Okay, so that's what's next. Now, ongoing projects. Okay, my what I call Wild and Loud. That's the quilt that was all Scrappy, that I made from the scrap bag that we each received at Christmas time from the Guild. And you've already seen the top of that. That's done. But then I have to back it. And I was thinking, you know, let's carry on with the Scrappy theme and go through my stash and create my backing from more scraps, keeping with the theme. So I have a basket full of pieces from a couple of boutique jelly rolls that I think I bought when I first got into quilting about 3 years ago because they were pretty. And I've used a lot out of those jelly rolls for other projects, but I have these other ones that are left. And the reason they're left over is because they're kind of wild and loud in colors. So I decided to sew the strips together, 4 strips together at a time, cut them down to 8-inch squares, and this is the kind of thing that I have created. And I'm not worried about the color combinations because, as I said, this quilt is all Scrappy and Wild and Loud. And I think there's one other one here. I'm still working on these. By my estimation, I need about 56 of these 8-inch squares to make the backing. So I don't know what I'm going to do with these. I'm either going to just sew them, you know, like this, or I can sew, you know, every other one this way, or I might make them into half square triangles. And I'm just taking this one and trying to show you here what that might look like. Let's get 2 that are contrast here and just fold that up. And so I might do this kind of thing. And you want to know something? I think that's the route I'm going to go with, because I think that's going to look really kind of cool. But we'll see. I'm making it up as I go, and when I get tired of working on the Aussie quilt, I've been turning my attention to making these because this is mindless sewing. You know, can sit there with a video on YouTube or something and watch that and just sew, because you don't have to think about that. So in a sense, I've got a couple of projects going at the same time. I don't know, do you like to do several projects at once, or do you like to, you know, concentrate on one and finish that up? I used to be that way. That's the way I did my projects. I'd focus on one and I wouldn't start anything else until it was done. But lately I need the variety. I find that helps keep me going and keep me interested. When I get a little like tired, like say of making these friggin' things, okay, I may turn my attention to these friggin' things, whatever, on it. And then of course there's always embroidery. Okay, so I want to try something new. You've seen my quilts. Each week I show you what I'm working on, and lately I've been showing you all the UFOs, and now in a few minutes I'm going to start critiquing another quilt that I made in the past. But it's all about me, isn't it? Well, it's my channel. But I would like it to be less about me and a little bit more about you. I'd like to make this a little bit more interactive. Now, how am I going to do that? Well, you're quilting, you're doing sewing projects out there, you may be knitting, you may be crocheting, whatever it is. I want to see your work. And I'd like to feature your work here in the Idiot Quilter. Now, how do we do that? Well, first of all, this is a safe space. What I mean by that is I will not criticize your work at all. No, I will only have positive things to say about it. So don't worry that maybe I'm going to become the quilt police and I'm going to go through whatever you send me and find all the flaws in it. No. How are you going to send it to me? All you have to do is take a picture, 1 or 2, whatever, of whatever you're working on. It could be a work in progress, a whip. It could be a completed one from some time ago. It could be a recent project. It doesn't matter. just take a picture of it and send it to me as an attachment to my email. Now, I've put in the show notes my email address. It's very easy. It's just my name at simpatico.ca, but it'll be in the show notes below. And by the way, when you type out my address and you use my name, I am Stephen, and at the end of my name, it's not Steve, it's Stephen, and I spell my name the right way with a V. V for victory, okay? And so I just say that because sometimes people leave off the end or try to spell my name with a PH and it's not going to get to me. It will go somewhere. I guarantee you it will go somewhere because there's a lot of Stephen Blands around, I have found. Not that unique. Boo-hoo. But anyways, it'll be in the show notes so you can find that. So don't be shy. Send me a picture of what you're working on and just give me a really brief explanation of the project. Like maybe you can tell me the fabric you used or the pattern that you used, what it's called, maybe a little background as to why you did that project or are working on that project, whatever. It doesn't have to be an essay. In fact, I don't want an essay. And I will show it here and I will read what you have sent me and we'll all be able to appreciate your work. Again, in a completely supportive environment, so do not worry. And don't feel that you're in competition with anybody. You're not. You are unique to yourself. So I just think it would be great to be able to share your work. Okay, so that's something new that I want to try. So don't hesitate. Send it to me. And okay, so I have something else new that I would like to try too, but I'm coming to that. But right now I have a shout out to a YouTube channel that I have been watching since I started quilting. I find this individual to be a little obnoxious, and I think he does that on purpose. But he is a man, which I'm attracted, of course, to men quilters because then I don't feel alone. And his name is Rob Appell, and you've probably heard of him. And his YouTube channel is called Rob Appell-Making It Fun. He is a representative for, I think, Michael Miller, the fabric company. But he's very good. His explanations of how to put a quilt together or to do certain blocks is usually very, very clear. His videos are not usually very, very long, 20 minutes maybe. Sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little less. He comes out with a new one, usually once a week, if not a couple of times in a week. And I have learned a great deal from him. So I have put the link to his YouTube channel in the show notes. So you can check him out if you don't know about him. I kind of find it hard if you've been quilting for a while and if you watch YouTube that you've never seen him. Because he's been around for a while. I think he used to work with Jenny Doan on the Missouri Star Quilt Company. And now he branched out and now I think he's a national sales representative for Michael Miller Fabrics. Okay, so speaking of fabrics, I got my order from Peachtree. Yes, I absolutely love this company. They are the flavor of the month for me right now. Their customer service is excellent. They're very quick at getting things out to you. And they've got some nice fabrics. And I bought some of those nice fabrics. And you know, last week I put the coupon code for Peachtree quilts in my show notes. And if you didn't see that, go back to episode, what's this? This is episode 98, so that'd be episode 97, and it'll be there. And the coupon code, I think it is still active, is my name, one word, Stephen Bland. He sent it to me as being all in uppercase, so I don't know if you put it in lowercase whether it work or not, but let's say, to be on the safe side, it's uppercase, so it's Stephen Bland 10, and you'll get 10% off your order. And the 10 is the number 10. So you might want to check out their fabrics and you might want to order some from them. And, you know, I find it amazing, but I talk about Canadian sites because, yeah, I live in Canada, and right now, especially right now, I want to support Canadian businesses. So when I'm buying fabric, I am not buying fabric from the States. I'm buying it from Canadian stores, and there's lots of them online with, good prices, good quality fabric. And I find it surprising that Americans don't do that. At least I don't think they do. I don't think Americans order a lot from Canadian stores. Well, one of the reasons might be because they have a lot more to choose from than we do. And of course, shipping might be an issue as well. But prices, Americans are going to get it for cheaper because of the dollar exchange. So, I'm paying $16.50 a meter. And that's another thing for Americans. A lot of Canadian companies are all in meterage, so you're going to get 3 inches more than you get from a yard. So even more bang for your buck. So, at $16.50 a meter Canadian, well, that's about, right now, that's about $11 or something a meter for really high quality fabric. So you got to be crazy not to order from a Canadian company if you're an American. Really? I don't know. Tell me out there, those of you that are Americans, do you order from Canadian companies or not? You should try it. And I don't think there's a problem with duty on this kind of thing. And shipping shouldn't take any much longer than it takes for us to get here in Canada. In fact, in some ways it might be faster. I don't know. Because our mail service, how do I put it gently, sucks. Okay, so let's look at what I bought. So I wanted some more of that Tim Holtz abandoned line, especially this one, because this is the one I'm using in the mystery quilt, and I needed 3.2 meters of it, and I only had 2 meters, so I got another 2 meters. So now I've got lots, which is great. And I also bought in that same line this one. Now you saw the other ones that I had bought. So now there's a couple in the line I thought about buying, but I didn't buy them because I don't know if I'd use them. They're a little bit darker. They're more in the browns, which is sort of a Tim Holtz traditional color. The browns, the grunge look, that kind of thing. But I bought some of this because I didn't have any of that. And I don't know what I'll do with it yet, but I'm sure I will figure it out. Now, I bought these next 2. And I absolutely love them. In fact, now, some people have a problem buying fabric online because they want to go into the store and feel it. Well, first of all, I was that person as well. I'm not so much now. Yes, I love to feel the fabric too, and I love going into a quilting store and seeing all the bolts of fabric laid out, and I grab something that really pulls my interest, and then I'm able to go down the rows, and hold it up to the different bolts and find my, accessory colors to it and the whole bit. And that's not something you can do when you buy online. The other thing is, sometimes there can be a bit of a color shift. You'll have a picture of the fabric on your computer screen, and depending on the resolution of your monitor and that kind of stuff, there can be a slight variation in the color of it. And I did have that problem only once with one fabric. It was a Christmas fabric that I bought, and it was not the shade of green that I thought it was going to be. But that's the only time I've had any problem. And throughout the last year, I have been doing a lot of ordering from various sites of fabric online. So when I saw these, I had to have them, but they're even better in real life. Now, this is ironic because I saw them on a screen and I'm showing them to you on a screen. But trust me, look at these. Look at these. Aren't these gorgeous? They even have a bit of a shine to them. I think these were called Fairy. They're a Michael Miller fabric. They're called Fairy Frost. There were some others in the color line too, and I'm seriously thinking of going back into this. These came from Peachtree. All these fabrics came from Peachtree Quilts. I'm seriously thinking of going back on and ordering some more in this line because I think they're beautiful. What am I going to do with them? I have no idea. I'm thinking though that I may revisit, with some of these other fabrics I'm about to show you too, revisit some of those patterns I've set aside as the quilts I want to do this year. And I've already picked some of the fabrics out for those, but I'm really thinking of rethinking it to use some of these fabrics instead. And then I bought this. I think this is by Robert Hoffman. It's called Spectrum. In the colors that I love, the purples and the blues. And then I also bought this to go along with them. So again, and I think there may have been some more in this line. So I see another order coming up in my future really soon. But I think they're just really, really gorgeous. Again, all from Peachtree. And then I bought this. Now, Walter had bought this, and I forgot that he had, because he wanted to make a shirt. Walter is more into garment sewing, as you know, and he was making some short sleeve shirts. Unfortunately, by the time he got my short sleeve shirt done for me, we're kind of in winter, so I'm saving it for the spring. I hope I can still get into it. Hope he made it generous in size, because I'm becoming generous in size. But anyways, enough about my fat. So he had bought this. He thought make it a nice shirt, but he didn't realize, well, we didn't realize it when we saw it, that it is actually almost like a panel. And that's how I think I'm going to use this fabric for something. I think I'm going to cut it in such a way that it'll either be really big blocks in the center of the quilt or one huge, almost panel-like block, and then build my quilt around it from that. That's sort of my plan right now. Now, it would be fine to cut it up as well because of the colors in it. It is called, if you're interested, where's the selvage? Oh, here we go. This is by Free Spirit, and it's by Sue Penn Designs, and it's called Garden Bright. Garden Bright. And there are some other fabrics in the line, of course, that will go with this as well. In fact, maybe I should explore that a little further too. I come up with these things when I'm talking to you. Guess that's how you get ideas, right? Talk them out. So I got 8 different fabrics, 2 meters each. That's 16 meters of fabric, and it cost me, before my discount, it was about $300. I got free shipping. I got my 10% discount, so you know it came out to under $300. I think that's pretty good. You know, given that it's all quality fabric. And just an aside about using quality fabric, when I'm working on these little scrappy pieces and stuff, you really get a feel for different types of fabrics. You can tell the cheap shit, okay, quite frankly. It just, like the ones in this, okay, these are Aussie fabrics that I bought. They came from a jelly roll. I don't know who manufactured it because I've long since lost the label. But these, well, actually right now they feel pretty good because I starched them. Actually, I used Acorn's precision piecing pressing solution. But as I was working with these, you can feel them. When they go underneath the foot on the sewing machine, the feed dogs have a little trouble getting a grip on them and pulling them through. And at first I was thinking, hey, there's something wrong with my feed dogs. No, because when I went to better quality fabric, no problem. So yeah, so you got to watch it. You might be getting fabric at a fantastic price, you think, but if it's too fantastic to believe, it's probably very cheap too. That's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong about that, but that's what I'm discovering. So, you know, it pays. You're putting all this work into a quilt. It pays to use quality fabrics, unless you're making it for a dog bed or something like that, or for someone you don't like. You know, but really you get what you pay for in the quilting world, I think. Okay, let's see. What's that take me to now? Oh, yes. All right. I did also order online from my favorite quilt store here in my area, and actually I did order some fabric for them. Unfortunately, they're having some growing pains with their site, and a couple of things that I ordered were out of stock, although they haven't been able to set up their site yet, so it can tell you that in advance. That is a bit annoying, okay, but I'm sure they'll work that problem out very soon. And I am loyal to them because they give me excellent service. They're called Ultimate Sewing here in Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. Ultimate Sewing Center. And so a couple of my things, nothing major. One's a meter of a white backing. You know, I'll live. I can wait for it. And the other thing was some pins. And I'm going to talk about those pins in a minute. But what I did order from them, and luckily they had them in stock, were a couple of feet for Walter's sewing machine. Kind of, his birthday's coming up in another week and a half's time, and believe me, it's impossible to buy either one of us anything, because when we want something, we buy it for ourselves. So I said to him, what do you want for your birthday? Well, he bought himself recently a Mac Mini computer, and he's been learning it, and there's some little device, I don't know what it's for, but that he would like for it. But Walter's very picky about these things, and they haven't yet released it. It's an expensive little piece, but that's okay. I don't mind spending the money on that. I mean, after all, for my birthday last year, he bought me my big elaborate steam iron, and that was not cheap. So, you know, I like to give back. So I said to him, what do you want? What can I get you? I said, do you need any feet? He's doing a lot of garment sewing. He is using a Janome 6700P, which has the dual, which Janome calls the dual foot feature, and in the walking feet. And there were a couple of walking feet attachments that he would like. So I got those for them, and they had them in stock, and he says they're working beautifully. So that's great. I still haven't figured out what else to get him yet, though. But anyways, I got those from my local store as well. And I'll certainly be buying more fabric from them too, once they get a little bit more up on their website, because I need to see it. You know, they're very accommodating. I could send an email and say, hey, I'm looking for this, but I have different taste than the people that work there, and they would do a good job, I'm sure, of matching stuff up, but I just, I'm not comfortable with that. I want to do it my way. So yeah, as soon as they get a few more things up on their website and that, I'll be sure to be ordering some. No problem there. Okay, so let's go to my favorite notions. I want to talk about pins. When I first started quilting, I wasn't into pinning. Again, I have this thing about my own blood coming out of me. That's why I don't hand sew, because I'm very awkward at that kind of stuff, and I usually prick myself. But, you know, sometimes you just can't avoid using pins. I was using Wonder Clips. I still use Wonder Clips. I love Wonder Clips. And I have them in various sizes too. But I have discovered something as I use more pins, what I like and what I don't like. Now, I started off with using, you know, your standard pins, that kind of thing. No big deal. And they're fine. Although I find these particular ones bend very easily, and after a while you've got all these pins that are going every which way, and basically I just wrap them up, throw them away at that point. So I have lots of these pins, and they're relatively cheap. Then I discovered glass head pins, and you can buy these on Amazon because they tend to be a little bit more pricey. But the beauty of glass head pins is that you can iron over top of them because they're glass. However, one of the disadvantages is, at least the ones that I bought, they have the round ball. So, you know, when you're ironing, you're kind of ironing up and down little hills with them. So I don't use these very often. Someone suggested to me the flathead pins were great. And you see people using them all the time. These ones have different types of tops on. These are flower ones. They're a little thinner and they bend very, very easily, I find. I really don't like using them because I can't, when I go to pull them out of something I'm working on, these are not that easy to get a hold of. So I don't use these very frequently. But my favorite right now are the ones they call magic pins. You get 50 of them in a little box like this. There's different lengths. This is probably the most popular length. I think it's 1 inch, 1 7/8 inches, something like that. And why I love these ones so much is they have a silicone head on them, which means that they are heat resistant, so you can iron on these. They're also fairly strong. There's flex to them, but they don't bend all out of shape like some of those other pins that I've had. I like the length of these because I can get right in there and, you know, pin away without any problem. So I love these. They've also, on that head, I don't know if you can see it, there's little grooves. So it's very easy to get a hold of them and pull them out of your project. So I love these. I love these so much that I've got 2 more packages of these on order. They should be coming sometime this week. They're not bad in price. You get 50 of them. They average in price from anywhere from about $12 or $13 to, you know, $16, what I've been finding online. So, you know, that's not horrible, that price. These are my new favorite pins, magic pins. So if you've never tried them, I highly recommend them. I think you're going to like them a lot. So that's my little quickie comparison review about pins that I'm using and what my favorite pins are. Okay, that takes us to this week's quilt that I'm going to criticize. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take my camera off its stand right now and pull the quilt across and talk about that. So I'll be right there in a sec. Okay, here's the quilt this week. This was, I think, it was either my second or my third quilt that I made. And it doesn't look too bad. And it's not too bad, considering it was, you know, only my second or third quilt. But I am going to point out some things I could have done better with this one. I'm having trouble. I can't seem to get it all in one shot here for you. So I'm sorry about that. But let's go over and take a little closer look at it. Okay. So first thing I want to point out is something I pointed out on the first quilt I did, my points. These are half square triangles, as you can see. And where are my points? Well, that one's pretty good. But that one is not. I cut it off, and I did the same thing down here as well. And I did it over here too. Again, problem with the 1/4 inch seam allowance. Possibly a problem with my cutting of the fabric, not sure. But when you stand way back and look at it, you really don't notice it until it's pointed out to you, or you're a quilter and you would definitely notice that. Along the edges here, I had the same thing. I have some inconsistencies. You see up here, you can see the point, but you can see too much of it. Here, it got clipped off. Do I have any that are kind of perfect? Not really. That one's not bad. I mean, I'm close on all of these. So that was one problem. If you take a look at the way I quilted this, I just did it with a walking foot, and I was very safe. I did straight lines, but then I decided to get a little fancy and I started doing diagonal lines. And you can see my diagonal lines are a little bit wonky. Then I got even fancier and decided up here in this corner piece, I would do this like fanned out part. Well, it's not, I kind of blunted the end of that. Now I know for sure I did not draw this quilting out before I did it. I just kind of did it freehand and estimated my spacing. I probably used the little bar you can put on the walking foot for spacing it. And for the most part, looking at it from a distance again, it's not a glaring problem, but I can see it. They're a little wonky too in the middle here of the quilt. But, you know, overall, not bad considering it was only my second quilt or third. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the fabric that I used for this. This blue fabric came from Michaels. And remember what I said about cheap fabric earlier today? Well, this was cheaper fabric. It worked out okay, but even when you feel it, it feels cheap. But I didn't know the difference at the time. I was just looking at price. The other fabric I used in this, the ones with the bright colors, I made that fabric. Yes, I did. I designed it. Now, in my other creative life, I do art journaling and mixed media. And what I decided to do was I scanned in some of the pages from my art journals. And then I went to Spoonflower, which I think most people have heard of Spoonflower. If you haven't, just look it up on Google. I think it may be just spoonflower.com, but you can design your own fabric on that site and they'll print it out for you. They do digital printing on fabric, and you have a choice of the different types of fabrics you can get it on. And it does a really great job. It's not particularly cheap. I think at the time I did this, it was costing me, and it may be more now because I haven't done this in a long time, about $17.50 a yard in American money. So it's not cheap, but I got a couple of yards of my own fabric, and that's what I put into this quilt. And you know, I love it. I should actually order some more of my own fabric as well. And it's on good quality cotton, but as I said, you can have it printed on other fabric as well. They have a whole list, and it's very easy to set it up, and you can do a little bit of editing of your design, like your repeats and things like that. Now my border, okay, this looks like I did a flanged border, but I did not. I don't know what I did, but there is this small piece of fabric right here, and then my binding over top of it. So I think what I probably did was I underestimated how wide the fabric needed to be for this last border piece that I was putting on. I have a feeling I made it about 1 inch, and then of the majority of my binding kind of covered it up. But now looking at it in hindsight, it does look like a flanged border. And it came out not too bad. It's a little uneven in certain places, but for the most part, not too bad. The other thing about it too, now this is really being picky, but if you look at the pattern that's in here, well, the pattern's not equal distant. I mean, when I cut the fabric, I didn't take into consideration what that pattern was like, so you can see that it's very uneven in its design. You know, like here, you get this, get my finger here, but you go down further and it becomes a little bit rounder, and that's just because the fabric isn't straight, or I didn't cut it straight enough. Then I put the binding on. Now, being the second or third quilt, I was still having trouble with binding, and this looks pretty good, what I put on here, except let's take a look at the corners. Did I miter them? No, I didn't. See this corner? That's not mitered. I don't know what that is. I didn't get the miter right on the corner. I have learned since then. Did I get it right here? Although I made it work, but it's not right. And on the other side, you can see, okay, here isn't that fun? What the heck was I doing there? I don't know. But that's not the way that should be. And speaking of the back, let's take a look at the back. I had this wild fabric. Again, I don't know where I bought this fabric. I did my quilting on the back in black, whereas on the front I did it in white. So I guess I decided that I was going to, you know, change my bobbin color. So I figured that out. It's not too bad. You can't see it. Probably did that on purpose because I didn't know how it was going to turn out. Because now in hindsight, I would have done that in a much brighter color, maybe a yellow, maybe this neon-y kind of green, or even a white. But for now, and I'm looking for tucks. I'm looking for tucks. And it's, oops, I'm probably making you sick while I move this around, but I'm not finding any tucks, so that's not bad at all. Now, this is not a huge quilt. And I don't know if you noticed it, I've actually hung the quilt upside down. Not that it matters, but this piece that's here, this is a sleeve. And it looks like I did the sleeve using my serger. Probably the first time I ever made a sleeve, because I decided this was going to hang up in the bedroom over the top of my headboard of my bed. And that's where it did hang for a while, but I've since replaced that with another quilt that I like better, that I made. And that'll be one that I'll feature in upcoming episodes as well, to talk about it. But overall, I don't think I did I didn't do a bad job. I really didn't do a bad job. By the way, if it looks like it's curved here, it's warped, it's not. It's just the way I've got it hanging here. Those actually came out relatively straight. Although, well, now that I said that, I'm taking a look at them, and some of the corner pieces are a little uneven. So anyways, that was my second quilt, and not bad. I love the fact that I used my own fabric in it. It's my own design, by the way, too. I made that up as I went along. So again, I was getting maybe a little ahead of myself in quilting, a little overconfident when I made this one, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. So I'm just going to return my camera to my tripod and finish up. Okay, so that was this week's critique. And next week I'm going to take a look at another quilt that I made after my first trip to Australia. And it's made all out of linen tea towels. And we'll talk more about it and what I did right and what I did wrong with that one next week. Okay, so final thoughts. I have an idea. Another idea that involves you. Now, I've already asked you to send me pictures of your projects. I'm thinking, how would you like to spend a little time with me live in a mini sewing retreat? Now, once a month I do craft and chat, which is basically essentially a mini retreat. It's turned into. But this one I'm opening up for quilters and knitters and crocheters. And I don't know when we're going to do it. That's to be determined. But my idea is that basically just the week before I do one of these, I will put the Zoom link, it'll be a Zoom link in the show notes. And when it comes to the time and the date, you just click on that and away we go. And the whole thing is, it's very informal. I'm not going to record it or anything like that. We're just going to work on our projects together. Because as I said earlier in this podcast or this vlog, that I get inspired by working with other people. And I think a lot of people are like that. So I would like to try and create a little community from the people who watch me on a regular basis, or even newbies, that's fine, newbies can come too. And we'll just work on our projects. We'll chat a little bit, maybe talk about what we're working on, introduce ourselves, things like that, and see what comes from that. That's what I'm thinking. So here's what I'd like you to do. If you are interested in this idea, then either put a note in the show notes or in the comment section of this video, or send me an email. I'm put my email address in the show notes saying that, yeah, you're interested in this. And not only interested, but what day of the week. We do this maybe once a month. We'll see. What day of the week is a good day for you, and what time? Now, I'm suggesting that this little retreat we have would run, 3 hours, maybe. It could be a come and go kind of a thing. You come when you can, and you can leave whenever you feel like you need to leave, that kind of thing. We'll just go with the flow. I mean, if we're all having a really good time and people want to hang on for longer than that, I'm probably going to be very open to that idea. I don't know. We're just playing it by ear right now. But I'd like to know what day of the week would be good for you. It will have to be during the day. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people work. I'm retired, so I can't, but I don't think I could manage it in the evening because I'm just going to be tired. I go to bed early, okay? I'm that kind of person. I get up early, I go to bed early, kind of a thing. It can be on a weekend or it could be on a weekday. So we'll see, and I'll go with whatever the majority seems to think would be best. So I need to know day of the week, time of the week that you would like to do this. And yeah, that's all I need to know for now. So I will wait to see what people over the next week before the next Idiot Quilter come up with, and then on the next Idiot Quilter, we'll talk about it further. And by then I should have a better idea as to whether or not, one, people are interested in this kind of thing, and two, when we should do it. Okay? So please, if you're interested, please let me know. Okay. So I think that's it for today. It is. And I hope you got something out of today's episode. And we'll see you real soon. Stay safe, stay happy, stay making things, because I think that helps us all stay happy, right? And we'll see you next week on another episode of The Idiot Quilter. Bye for now.